Demand forecasting basically is the predicting the future demand for the firm's product. And why it is important? Why it is important to predict the future demand of a firm's product? It's just because it will give an idea for the firm to plan and schedule the production of the product demanded in the market. The next importance is that it also helps in acquiring inputs. That is, if we know that what will be the future demand in the product, so we know the quantity of inputs we have to order to get the product made. The next importance is that it also helps in making advanced provisions for the finances. If we have to go into the production process, we know that what will be the demand of the product in the future. So we will also know that what finances we need, and accordingly we can arrange for the finances. The next importance is that formulating pricing strategy. That is, what price of the product should be charged in the market. Then planning the advertisement strategy. If we know that the demand of this particular product is low in the market, and so we'll plan better advertisement strategy. We'll increase the frequency of advertisements on various media in order to create more demand about the product.
What is forecasting? It is the process of predicting future sales or demand by quantitative data or by judgmental technique. By quantitative data or by judgmental technique. So these are the two different methods using which forecasting is being done. So forecasting is what? Basically prediction. What is going to be future sales or demand? Okay. So these predictions give the basis of future requirement of men, materials, machine and money. So it happens sometimes in industry that if you are creating some product, so you should be well familiar what type of products is in demand in the recent time. How will you know that? You would be able to know that by seeing the previous data. So using the previous data, we could predict what is going to be my future sales or demand. So you should remember that forecasting is based on the assumption that the past predicts the future. So what we are doing is we are assuming a fact that the past predicts the future. One thing, please make sure that this we are predicting it, right? We are not exactly telling that what is going to happen in future, because you know very well that future is very uncertain. Anything can happen anytime, but at least we could get some idea so that we could process or we could work in that regard such that the industry works. When forecasting, think carefully whether or not the past is strongly related to what you expect to see in the future. So this is a mere statement. So what is forecasting all about? So let's see, we have taken one example of the demand of Mercedes E-Class, and we are trying to predict the future by looking back at the past. So we are taking some previous data. So let's say in the month of January, this much was the demand, so this blue dot, and then in February this was the demand, and then March this was the demand, April, May, June and so on. Okay, so these were the future demands. What you have to do is you have to predict the demand for July. Okay, so let's say you are in the month of June and you want to predict what is going to happen in July. What will be the demand in the month of July? So with the help of all these previous data, so we have predicted this data, right? So this particular value. So this is the predicted demand, which is looking back 6 months. So 6 months back data we have taken, and based upon those data we are predicting what is going to be the demand for this Mercedes E-Class product in the month of July. Okay, so this blue color dots, as you can see, these are the actual demands based upon the past sales, and this orange color dot is your predicted demand. So let's see the classification of forecasting. So broadly speaking, we can classify forecasting under two broad categories. One is called quantitative method and other is your qualitative method. Okay, quantitative method and one is qualitative method. So quantitative method is further classified into two, which is called time series analysis, and the second one is casual or econometric. Fine. One more thing, this quantitative method, the objective is of objective nature, right? So this is of objective nature and it is used for short or medium term forecasting. So this quantitative method of forecasting is objective in nature. Along with that, it is used for short or medium term forecasting. And this qualitative method is subjective in nature and it is used for long term forecasting. Time series analysis is used for short range and casual or econometric method of forecasting is used for medium range. Alright. Now, broadly speaking, this time series analysis, we have got these methods. First one is your simple average method. So here AM, you can write, this is the short form of average method. Or if you want to write SAM, so which becomes simple average method. Simple average method. You should write in full. Then we have weighted moving average method. You can call this as to be WMAM, which is weighted moving average method. Then we have exponential smoothing method, which is ESM. Okay, so these are the different methods that we have to study for numericals, and these comes under the category of time series analysis, which is basically used for the short range forecasting. This casual or econometric is further classified under two, which is called regression analysis and correlation analysis. Alright, so these two methods are used for medium range forecasting. So we have studied this classification. Please do remember this particular chart because many questions do come up from this particular chart. I will show you one example. And one more thing, so we have qualitative methods. With this qualitative method, you can have opinion survey, Delphi technique, market trial, market survey research. Okay, so please do, I'm just erasing this, and please take the snapshot and copy this down in your notebook and learn it.
Now coming to the quantitative methods. Quantitative methods are classified into two categories. One is time series methods, another is causal methods. So time series methods, here time is one variable. If you draw a graph on it, and x-axis if you have sales and time on x-axis, sales on y-axis. Okay, so the change in sales happens over time. So basically at t1 sales has one value, t2 another value. So time is one variable in all the time series methods. So the sales value changes over time. Whereas in case of causal methods, there is one dependent variable and one or more independent variables. So which are represented by a linear equation in general, like a plus bx, where x is the independent variable and y is the dependent variable. So based on the value x takes, y value will change. So this is the cause and this is the effect. So change in value of x will change the value of y. So this method is called causal method because there is a cause and effect relationship between x and y. So basically this method derives the relation between x and y and used to forecast the future values of y. Okay, so in time series methods, so since one variable is time, other variable is the sales, so the sales will determine this, the past sales values of various time periods will determine the future sales of time periods by using various time series methods. So time series methods are again categorized into multiple. One is moving average method, so called as MA. The second one is weighted moving average. An extension of moving average using weights. And then we have exponential smoothing. And the fourth one is trend projections, to capture the trend part of the data. And we have decomposition method. Whereas in causal, we will be going through linear regression, multilinear regression. Basically single linear regression where there is only one independent variable, whereas in this multilinear regression the independent variables are more than one. So we will talk about these methods. So before going to these methods, we will talk about the components of the time series methods. Now let us talk about the components of a time series. The components are nothing but the characteristics of the data that are present in a time series. So the first characteristic is the trend. So the trend is defined as nothing but a continuous increase or continuous decrease of sales over time period, which can be represented in a graph like this. So this is time, this is sales. So you can see an upward trend is continuously increasing, even though there are minor variations, but the general trend over the time period is upwards. Similarly, there can be a downward trend for some products or for some demand over time. Okay, so for example, if you say the sales of Apple iPhones will increase over time as the affordability of the people are increasing over time. As the economy is growing, the affordability of the salaries of the people will increase. So the sales of iPhone will increase as the time increases. Okay, so you can say this is a continuous positive or continuous negative, and there can be a zero trend also that will be like this. So this is a upward trend. This is the downward trend. And this can zero trend. So depending on the data, the characteristics might change. So this is one component of time series. The second component is seasonality. Second component is the seasonality. So based on the season of the year, the sales of a product changes, whether it is increase or decrease. There is a deviation from normal variation, like say this much, usually represented in months because the seasonality mostly captured over months. For example, in case of air conditioners, it will be higher in case of summer, whereas in other seasons it will be less. So the seasonality will be captured over months, and this is another characteristic of the data which is seasonal in nature. Not all products will be seasonal. So but examples like ACs or umbrellas or which are seasonal in nature will have the seasonality characteristics in their data. so which need to be captured while we are forecasting. Okay, so similar to the trend, you can add the seasonality and trend, and you can see an upward trend. Similarly, we can see a downward trend in the data, or a zero trend, or a zero trend will be like this. So there is a seasonal component that is repeating over one period, and other periods are showing normal variation, and the trend is zero. It is not showing an upward trend or downward trend. So this is a seasonal component. And the third one is the cyclic nature of the data. So this characteristics is represented over years usually. So it will be changing over years as a huge curve. It's not considered in general in months or weeks. So this is a seasonality happening over years, you can say. Similarly to the you can say the change in geographies, change in the economic factors will be over the years. The changes won't be much in a less horizon, say in a year. And similar to the other indicators, this also can have an upward trend, zero trend, as well as negative trend. Okay, and the fourth component is random component. So this can be shown like there is no visible trend or seasonality we can see in the data. The data will be very random at each of this time period. So every data will have a random component inherently, but if it shows a very huge variation from one bucket to another bucket, one period to another period, so that component is captured using randomness. Okay, so this is one characteristic of the data, one component of the data. So all these components of the time series be representing, say, T with trend, and then seasonality with R, cyclic nature with C, and random component R. So these four components of our time series are used in two models. One is additive model in arriving the forecast. Second one is multiplicative model. So in this model, can say the demand is arrived by adding these four components of the time series, whereas in this case the demand is arrived by multiplicating these four components. So choosing this model will be basically data dependent and the nature of the forecast that we are doing. Now coming to the time series methods, we will be talking about all the methods: simple moving average, weighted moving average, then exponential smoothing, and then trend projection as part of time series methods. So the first method is simple moving average. So let me write the terminology first related to this. FT represents the forecast in time period T. The period can be day, week, month, year, and DT is demand in time period T. So similarly, f t minus 1 will be the forecast in time period t minus 1, and f dt minus 1 is a demand in time period t minus 1. Okay, so using simple moving average method, it shows the term average. We will be taking the average of past demand values, but it's on a rolling basis basically. So ft is equal to the forecast in time period t is derived based on the past n periods demand values, that is dt minus 1 plus dt minus 2 plus goes on to dt minus n. and average of these n values. So forecast in time period t is nothing but demand in t minus 1 and demand in t minus 2 and actual demand over the past n demand or n periods and average of it. Suppose say if t is equal to April, so if I want to consider or derive forecast for April, and we say we'll be taking last 3 months demand points at 3 months moving average, then it will be D March plus demand in Feb plus demand in Jan by 3. Okay, or otherwise we can write it as F April can also be written as dt minus 1 plus t minus 2 plus dt minus 3 by 3. So this will be t. So this is a small example I have given. Let us take a small example to understand this better. So we have a question in GATE 2014 on this method where the sales were given like this: the month September, October, November, December and January, and the demand is 180, 280, 250, 190 and 240. Okay, and we need to calculate for F February. So till Jan the sales were given, we need to calculate F February with a moving average of for 4 periods. Okay, so as per our expression, F February will be D Jan plus demand in December plus demand in November plus demand in October by 4, since it is given as 4, which will come to 240 plus 190 plus 250 plus 280 by 4. This will come to 240. So this is the 4 months moving average. It will consider the last 4 months. If it is a 3 months, then the last 3 will be considered. That is F 3 will be 250 plus 190 plus 240 by 3, which will be 240 plus 480, 480, 680 by 3. Okay, so this is how it is calculated using simple moving average. So this method considers the last n periods demand to calculate the average, and as we move on from one period to another period, so one demand point will get discarded and new demand point will be added. I will show that case as well. So in this case it is considering t minus 1 to t minus n. Suppose if I say f, in this case say f3 equal to d1 plus d2 by 2. If we are calculating for period 4 with a 2 period moving average, then it will be d2 plus d3 by 2. So when we are moving from one period to another period, So the last period, that is D1, is getting discarded, and recent demand period value is considered to calculate the forecast for fourth bucket. Okay, so this is the expression for simple moving average. In simple moving average method, how do we determine or derive the value of n, that is the number of moving averages that we need to use to calculate the forecast? So whether it is 2 period moving average or 5 period moving average or 10 period moving average, how do we determine? So basically that depends on the type of product or the type of data we are looking at. So basically n value should be high for stable demand and it should be low for unstable demand. Okay, so why it should be low for unstable demand? Because unstable demand is nothing but, for example, in case of fashion or electronic industry, the demand changes very rapidly over few weeks or few months. So in order to capture the recent trends, the recent changes, so we better use n value less so that we capture those changes faster, so that our forecast will represent or consider those recent demand changes. Whereas in case of stable demand, just like in case of sales of automobiles, so the variations will be very less over months or years. So even if we take for high values of when, the demands won't be varying very high. So that's why it is suggested to use less or low n value for unstable demand. If I take an example, suppose say here there are 5 weeks and the sales are like this: 20, 10, 10, 50 and 60. These are all just for the illustration I have taken these numbers. So if we calculate with n equal to 5 for the forecast of 6th week, so it is coming to 30 units. Whereas if I take n equal to 2, the forecast for 6th week is coming to 55. Okay, you can see the huge difference between this 30 and 55. So because of the change in the number of periods that we are taking, this effect is very much high because of the last 2 periods demand. You can see the last 2 periods the sales are very high compared to other past 3 buckets. So you can see a unstable demand here: 20, 10, 10 and 50, 60. You can see unstable demand, and this value is representing more closely to this demands, the sales, unlike this value, which is more suitable for stable demand. Okay, apart from this, there is one disadvantage for simple moving average, which is that it cannot capture the trend. I will take an example and explain how it works when there is a trend in the data. Simple moving average doesn't capture the trend, so as well as other components like seasonality, and because it's just a simple average. So I'm taking an example to explain how it works. So let us say we have 5 weeks sales data available, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each week. We need to find the forecast value of week 6, and you can observe the trend in the graph. The week 1 to week 5 the sales are increasing by 1 unit. Okay, so by intuition you can see that week 6 sales will be 6, right? That will be this one. But let us compute this week 6 value using simple moving average. Suppose say we are taking the week 6 moving average with 5 period moving average value, so which comes to, that is nothing but 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus, basically consider all the past demand, 2 plus 1 by 5, which comes to 15 by 3, 15 by 5 equal to 3. Okay, if we compute with 4 plus 3 plus 2 by 5, that is 14 by 5, 2.8. Sorry, this will be by 4. This will be 14 by 4 equal to 3.5. And computing 3 period moving average, 5 plus 4 plus 3 by 3, which comes to 12 by 3 equal to 4. And 2 period moving average, 5 plus 4 by 2 equal to 4.5. And then 1 period moving average equal to 5 by 1 equal to 5. You can see the values with 5 period moving average 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5 and 5. It is nowhere crossing the maximum value because it's an average. So even though the trend is showing up, since the technique uses the averaging technique, it cannot cross the max value of the data points, that is nothing but 5. Average cannot cross the max value of the data points. So because of that, it couldn't capture the trend and arrive at 6 as the week 6 forecast. So this method is not suitable for the data which is having trend component, which is showing an upward trend or downward trend. So this is the disadvantage of averaging methods. So now we'll move on to weighted moving average method. We have seen that in simple moving average, we are giving equal weightage to all the past and demand points to arrive at the forecast for next period. So which is like this: the forecast for time period T is considering last n demand points with equal weightage, that is 1 by n. So if in case of n equal to 2, ft equal to dt minus 1 plus dt minus 2 by 2. So giving equal weightage to all of the demand points. But in some cases, in some data, basically you might want to give different weightage, like the weightage will be more for the recent data compared to the past data, because recent data is more relevant and should be given higher priority than the past data. So for that, there is a modified simple moving average method which is called weighted moving average, where we take weightages W1, W2, W3 for each of these data points. So instead of equal weightage, so we will give different weightages for each of these data points, and that is like this: weightage 1, this is weightage 1 for demand point T minus 1 plus weight 2 for T minus 2 and so on, weight n for T minus n divided by the total weightage. And since we are giving more weightage for the recent one, so this condition holds good: W1 greater than W2 greater than W3 and so on, Wn. So this is a weighted average moving average method, where we are giving different weights for the different demand points. Now let us look at an example how to calculate weighted moving average. So we have a question in GATE 2014 on moving average. We will use that to calculate the weighted average. So the sales are given like this for each of these months: September 180, October 280 and November 190, December 240. Okay, so these are the monthly sales given, and we need to calculate for the forecast for month January, and the weightages are given like this. So weightage for last period is 3, weightage for last to last period is 2, and the third period is 1. So that means weightage for December is given as 3 for the demand, weightage for November demand is given as 2, and October demand is given as 1. So now let us calculate the weighted moving average for month of Jan using this expression. So the forecast for month of Jan will be equal to weightage 1 into December demand plus weightage 2 into November demand plus weightage 3 into October demand divided by the total weightage. Okay, so which comes to 3 into December demand is 240 plus 2 into 190 plus 1 into 280 divided by 3 plus 2 plus 1. Okay, so this comes to 720 plus 380 plus 280 by 6, which comes to 230. So the forecast for Jan is 230. They're using the 3-month weighted moving average method. Okay, so there might be a possible question on weighted moving average by asking, so it is based on equal weights or unequal weights, and whether it is a simple moving average modified version or not, and how is it related to moving average. So there one mark question is possible from simple and weighted moving average method. Okay, now we will move on to exponential smoothing method. The third method in time series method is simple exponential smoothing, also referred as single exponential smoothing in some books. So in this method is basically suitable for the data which is not having any trend or seasonal components in their characteristics. So the difference between the moving average and weighted moving average and this simple exponential smoothing method is that this method considers the error in the forecast that it calculated previously. So basically it's taking an input from the mistake that happened in the last period, last forecast basically. So that basically you can say it's learning from the previous mistake. So the expression for simple exponential smoothing is like this: the forecast for next period t plus 1 is the current forecast plus the error. The error is calculated as dt minus ft, the demand in current period t minus the forecast in current period t, which gives us the error, multiplied 1 by a smoothing constant. So this is alpha. This is called as exponential smoothing constant or coefficient. And alpha lies between 0 and 1, and this part is the error in the previous forecast ft. Okay, so forecasting for the next period is the forecast for current period plus the error in the current forecast multiplied by a smoothing constant called alpha. Okay, so this smoothing constant, the value of this constant will define that whether the next forecast, whether it is considering or giving weightage more to the current forecast or more to the current demand. So if alpha equal to 1, this implies ft plus 1 equal to, this is 1, right, ft plus dt minus ft. So which is giving x dt. That means when alpha is close to 1 or 1, the next forecast is giving more weightage to the current demand, whereas in case of alpha equal to 0, ft plus 1 equal to ft. So in case of alpha equal to 0, it is giving more weightage to the current forecast and ignoring the last demand. Okay, and if alpha equal to 0.5 in between, so then ft plus 1 will be equal to 0.5 into ft plus 0.5 into dt. So basically it is giving equal weightage to current forecast as well as current demand. So this is how exponential smoothing method calculates the next period forecast. So let us take an example to see how it calculates. So we have a question using this method in GATE 2015. So the question is like this. It is the demand for January month is given as 500. Similarly, the forecast for January month is given as 400. And demand for February month is given as 600. And the smoothing constant alpha is 0.75. So we need to find the forecast for March. So demand for Jan and February is given, and we need to find a forecast for March given the forecast for Jan, right? So using exponential smoothing method, because it is given, we got a smoothing constant as well, right? So in order to find forecast for March, we need forecast for Feb as per this expression, and then leave Feb minus forecast Feb into alpha. Okay, but forecast for February is not given as per the data. So first we need to find forecast February. So forecast for February will be forecast for Jan plus demand of Jan minus forecast of Jan into smoothing constant. And in this expression we have January forecast as well as demand for January. So if we calculate this, 400 plus 500 minus 400 into 0.75. Okay, so this comes to 400 plus the difference is 100 into 0.75, that will be 75 and 475. So forecast for February is calculated using the demand of January and forecast of January, and it comes to 475. Now using this we can calculate the forecast for March, that is 475 plus we got a demand for February, that is 600 minus forecast for February is 475 into 0.75. This is 475 plus this is 125 into 0.75, and this comes to 568.75. So this question you can see it's not straightforward that it is asking for forecast for March, right, without giving the forecast for February. So it's inherently asking two questions. Is asking two questions. Question one is to find the forecast for February first to arrive at forecast for March. Okay, so you need to understand the question how the data is given before attempting this method. Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to Exardemy Redefining Education. So this is the lecture of forecasting, so let's continue with that. So in this lecture we will talk about the time series analysis or time series method. So under that we have the first method, which is simple average method, and so in short we can write this as SAM. It's very simple. Simply you need to take the average. So the question is, find the forecast for the fifth period using simple average method, and this is the data given to you. So for first period the demand was 50 units, for second period it was 30 units, for third period it was 20 units, and for fourth period it was 40 units. So what you have to do here is you have to find the forecast for the fifth period. So what will I do? I will write forecast for the fifth year is equal to what? Average of all these, because this method is simple average method. So simply you need to take the average. So 50 plus 30 plus 20 plus 40 divided by how many terms are there? Periods? 4. So what is this? 50 plus 30, 80 plus 20, 100 plus 40 is 140, and so 140, if you divide this with 4, you will get this as 35. So you can fill this table, and so for the demand for the fifth period will be 35 units. Fine. Moving to second method, which is moving average method. So in short you can call this as to be MAM, moving average method. So find the forecast for the fourth period using 3 period moving average method. So 3 period moving average method. So here you have been given the data for 4 periods and you are asked to calculate what is the forecast for the fourth period using the 3 period moving average method. So it should be fifth period, because the fourth period is also already given. So we are interested to find the forecast for the fifth period using 3 period moving average method. So in this method what you have to do, you have to take the latest 3 data. That means this one is the latest, this one is further latest, and this one is latest. So latest 3 data, because 3 period data you have to take. So here I need to take forecast for the fifth period. I'll be writing 40 plus 20 plus 30 divided by, since you are taking for the 3 period, so it will be divided by 3, and this will be what? 40 plus 20, 60 plus 30 is 90, divided by 3 is how much? It's 30. So the forecast for the fifth period is 30. Okay. Now say suppose you are asked to calculate the forecast for the fourth period using 3 period moving average method. So for fourth period, that means I have to find for these 3 latest data. For fourth period these 3 will be my latest data. For fifth period these 3 will be my latest data. So let's find the forecast for the fourth period depending on this table. So this will be what? 20 plus 30 plus 50 divided by 3 again. So this is how much? 30 plus 20 is what? 50 plus 50 is what? 100 divided by 3 is 33.3. Okay, so F4 is nothing but forecast for the fourth period using 3 period moving average method, and F5, which is forecast for the fifth period, is this much. Okay, 30 using the 3 period moving average method. Why it is called moving average? Because here you can see the data are moving, so that is why it is called moving average method. Then we have weighted moving average method. So here what you have to do is, importance is given only to some data, right? So just like this. So this is the formula. Ft plus 1 is equal to Wt multiplied with 80 plus Wt minus 1 into 80 minus 1. So as the data becomes old, the weight is also reduced. Okay, and these are the weight fractions whose summation is 1. So how to solve the problem? So we'll learn that. So here what is T signify? T signifies the current period. Ft plus 1 signifies the forecast for the next period. N signifies that N is the forecasting horizon, how far back we look. Okay, and A is the actual sales figure from each period, and W is the importance or weight we give to each period. So let's understand that with one numerical. Find the forecast for the fifth period using 4 period weighted moving average. Okay, so here we have the data for 4 periods, and you are asked to calculate what is the forecast for the fifth period. What is the forecast for the fifth period? So here what we will do is, since here we have to consider 4 periods, so definitely we have to consider the latest 4. So this is the first, this is second, this is third, and this is fourth. Fine. Now here I will be writing 1, 2, 3 and 4. Why I have written like this? Because this should be given, the latest one data should be given more weights, but you should be cautious that the summation of these should be 1. So if I add this here, so this, what is this? 2 plus 1 3, 3 plus 3 6, 6 plus 4 10, which is not making 1, right? So here what will I do is, I will write weight fractions. Weight fractions. So make another table for weight fractions and then divide each term by the summation of these. So what is the summation of these? 10. So here I will be writing 1 by 10. Here I will be writing 2 by 10. Here I will be writing 3 by 10. Here I will be writing 4 by 10. Now if you add these, you will get 1. So that is the only condition that you have to take care. Now what is the forecast for the fifth period? So forecast for the fifth period is what? Simply I need to multiply this with their weight fractions and add. So here I will be writing 40 into 4 by 10. This is the first term. Plus 20 into 3 by 10. 20 into 3 by 10. Then we have 30 into 2 by 10. What is happening? 20 into 3 by 10, 20 into 3 by 10, and then we have plus 30 into 2 by 10, 30 into 2 by 10, and then the last one is 50 into 1 by 10, 50 into 1 by 10. So let's solve this. So 0 0 gets cancelled. This is 4 4s are 16. Then 0 0 gets cancelled. 3 2s are 6. 0 0 gets cancelled, 3 2s are 6. Then 0 0 cancelled, 5 1s are 5. So what is this? 6 plus 6, 12. Then we have 12 plus 16. 12 plus 16 is 28, plus 5 is 33. So this is 33. So this is the answer that we got as the forecast for the fifth period using 4 period moving average method. So let me check if there is any mistake here. 4 period moving weighted moving average, that's absolutely fine. 16, 28, yeah, this is wrong. It should be 33. This is your correct answer. So here basically what you have to do is, you have to give some weights and then you have to go for the just like the previous method. Find the forecast for the sixth period using 5 period weighted moving average method. So let's solve this once again. So here we are interested to solve for the sixth period, right? So for the sixth period, give the same weights again. So here we have to solve for 5 period weighted moving average method. So let me give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the total sum? 5 plus 4, 9 plus 3, 12 plus 2, 14 plus 1, 15. So weight fractions will be 1 by 15, 2 by 15, 3 by 15, 4 by 15, and then 5 by 15. Alright. So forecast for the sixth period will be 35 into 5 by 15 and then plus 40 into 4 by 15 plus 20 into 3 by 15 and then 30 into 2 by 15 and then we have 50 into 1 by 15. Alright. Now let's solve this. 35 into 5 divided by 15, if you do, you will get 11.66. Then 40 into 4 divided by 15, if you do, you will get 10.66. And then 20 into 3 divided by 15, you will get as 4. Then this is 15 2s are 30, 2 2s are 4. Then we have 50 divided by 15, which is 3.33. So if you add these all, you will get 3.33 plus 4 plus 4 plus 10.66 plus 11.66, you will get 33.65, 33.653. Okay, so this is your correct answer. So here also it's a mistake. The correct answer will be 33.653. Fine. So find the forecast for the 6th period using 5 period weighted moving average method. You need to solve like this. Alright. So next question once again. So find the forecast for the 5th period using 3 period weighted moving average. So here you have to take the latest 3. So which are the latest 3? This, this and this. So now let's assign the weight. So here I'll be writing 1, 2 and this as 3. What is the total? 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6. So here I'll be writing 1 by 6, then 2 by 6 and then 3 by 6. So forecast for the 5th period will be what? 40 into 3 by 6 plus 20 into 2 by 6 plus 30 into 1 by 6. What is this? 3, 2 and then 20. So this is 20. Then we have 20 divided by 3, which is 6.66, and this is 5 plus 5 plus 20, you will get as 31.66. So this is the forecast for the 5th period using 3 period weighted moving average method. This is also wrong. So this is your correct answer, 31.66. Okay. So now the last one, which is exponential smoothing method, we will see in the in the next lecture. Okay, so digest all these 3 different methods. See you in the next lecture. Till then, bye.
Let us look at an example of demand forecasting using simple moving average method. The demand for an item is observed for 15 months and has been recorded as below. So for month 1, the demand is 280, month 2 the demand is 288, month 3 demand is 266, and so on. Now we are being asked to calculate 3 monthly and 4 monthly moving averages for this item. Also, we have to find out the forecast for the 16th month with 3 monthly and 4 monthly moving average. Now for simple moving average, we know that the forecast is equal to the sum of last n demands divided by n. So in our case, first we'll find the 3 monthly moving average. What this means is that we will take the average of the last 3 months of actual demand, and that will become the forecast for the 4th month. So here, even though we have been given the actual demand for all the 15 months, let us first find out the 3 monthly moving average for month number 4. So what we will assume is that we at this point do not know what is the actual demand going to be for the 4th month, but we know the actual demand for the first 3 months. So what we'll do is we'll forecast the demand for the 4th month by taking the simple moving average of the first 3 months. So let me pull my calculator. So the average will be 280 plus 288 plus 266 divided by 3, because n is 3 in this case, which is 278. So 278 is the forecast for the fourth month. Now while 278 is the forecast for the fourth month, when the fourth month is passed, we realize that the actual demand for this item for the fourth month was 295. Now we need to forecast what will be the demand for the fifth month. So in this case, what we'll do is, since we are taking 3 monthly moving average, we will take the average of the last 3 months. So for the fourth month, what we did is we took the average of the first 3 months. Now for the fifth month to forecast, what we'll do is we'll take the average of the last 3 months, which is this. Similarly, when we have to forecast for the sixth month, we'll drop the oldest demand and replace it with the latest demand. So for the sixth month, we'll take the last 3 periods, which will be these 3 months. So now let's calculate the forecast for the fifth month. So for the fifth month, we'll take 288 plus 266 plus 295 divided by 3, which is 283. So this is 283. So 283 is the forecast for the fifth month, but the actual sales for the fifth month turns out to be 302. Now we have to find out the forecast for the sixth month. So we'll take the actuals for month number 3, 4 and 5. Now once we take the actuals for these 3 months and take an average, we get 287.7, and the actuals after the month has completed is 310. Now based on this, let's find out the forecast for the seventh month. So we'll have to take the average of the last 3 months, which will be 295, 302 and 310. So this number will be 302.3. Similarly, we can calculate the 3 monthly moving average for all the remaining months. So let's do that. So here I have calculated the 3 monthly moving average for all the 15 months. Now we also have to find out the forecast for the 16th month using each of these methods. So let's find it out for the 16th month. So for 16th month, we'll take the average of the last 3 months, which will be 310, 308 and 320. And the average turns out to be 312.7. Now the next we have to do is find out the forecast using the 4 monthly moving average. So here, instead of 3 months, we'll take 4 months to find out the forecast for the next month. Now in order to find out the 4 monthly moving average, we have to take the average of the last 4 months in order to find the forecast for the 5th month. Now the first 4 months are month 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to use these demands for the first 4 months to find out the forecast for the 5th month. So let me pull my calculator here. So 280 plus 288 plus 266 plus 295 divided by 4, because we have 4 months. So the answer is 282.25. So this is the forecast for the 5th month. So for the 5th month, the forecast we found is 282.25. Now we started from the 5th month because that is the first month for which we have the demand for the last 4 months. And since we have to find out the 4 monthly moving average, we need to have at least 4 months worth of data. So at the end of the 4th month, you would forecast for the 5th month, and you found out that the forecast is 282.25. Now, once the actual month is passed, the actual demand turns out to be 302. So now you are forecasting for the 6th month using 4 monthly moving average. So now you have to take the average of the last 4 months. So we will be taking the average of 288, 266, 295 and 302 in order to find the forecast for the 6th month. So the forecast for the 6th month turns out to be 287.75. Similarly, we can find out the forecast for the next month. We'll have to take the average of these 4 months. So the forecast turns out to be 293.25. Similarly, we can find out the forecast for the remaining months. So let's do that. So these are the forecast figures for months 5 through 15. Now let's find out the forecast for the 16th month. So we'll have to take the average of the last 4 months. So the average turns out to be 317.5. So as you can note the difference based on the 3 monthly moving average, the forecast for 16th month turned out to be 312.7, while using the 4 monthly moving average, the forecast for the 16th month turns out to be 317.5. So this is how you can find out the simple moving average using 3 monthly and 4 monthly moving averages.
Moving average means for every year we'll be taking averages by moving year by year. So confused? Nothing to worry. We'll enter into the problem so that you'll have more clarity. So here it is given, calculate 5-year moving average. 5-year moving average for the following data. What is the data given? Year and production. Only this is the data given to us. Year and production is given. What they are saying, calculate 5-year moving average. 5-year moving average. It can be anything like 3-year moving average, 4-year moving average, 2-year moving average. It can be any number. Now right now in this problem they are asking us to calculate 5-year moving average. Data is so many years are there, and production in 1000 units, it's like this. We have to calculate 5-year moving average. For that what we have to do is first total of 5 years like that will total. So this is what I have done, 5-year moving total. 5-year moving total, then after that 5-year moving average. So 5-year moving total, first 5 years, 14, 15, 14, 17, 22, 28, 26. If we total first 5 years, we'll be getting 107. 107 we are getting, 107 we are writing in the middle, exactly opposite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Middle one is this one. This is middle one. Opposite to that we are writing 107. Are you getting it? Next, after that, next year we are going to take these 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaving 1 year and coming to the second year onwards. Second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year. So these 5 if you total up, we are getting 111, 111. 111 will write opposite to the 28 because this is middle, opposite. In the same way, next, we'll take next 5 years this. If you total up these 5, we'll be getting 114, 114. So this is also opposite in the middle. Like first we have done 5-yearly moving total. Once if you do the 5-year moving total, then we'll go for average. 5-year average. another column opened and written 5 yearly moving averages. So if you see first year, second year, there is no data, because when we have calculated first to 5, the first data it comes 107 opposite to the middle one. In the same way, last two also there is no data at all. So whatever data we got it, whatever average, 5-year average we got it, that we are going to total whatever we got, that we are going to make it average. For average 107 we got here, 107 by 5. 5-year average means 107 by divided by 5. So you will get 21.4. In the same way, 111 divided by 5, 22.2. Then 114 divided by 5, 22.8. Like you got average. Shall I explain you once again? Simple problem is given to you this much only. They'll ask you 3 years average, moving average, 5 years average. Whatever they say, that you have to calculate. 5 years they said. So first 5 years total I have done. Average is 107 divided by 5. You will get this one. Second one is by leaving 1. First 5. Like this you are totaling everything. So that is total of 5 years moving data. Then average we have done. Simple, that's it. So that you will come to know exactly. So how much is the average for the last 5 years? For the last 5 years average is going like this. Simple thing, nothing to worry. And if you get in the exam, don't leave this in choice. You have to attempt, because you will get full marks. There is no complication, no need to use this one also. Simple one.